The election is absolutely being rigged by the dishonest and distorted media pushing crooked Hillary, but also many polling places. Sad. Serious voter fraud in Virginia, New Hampshire, and California. So why isn't the media reporting on this? Serious bias. Big problem. The fake news media is going crazy with their conspiracy theories and blind hatred. At MSNBC and at CNN are unwatchable. At Fox and Friends is great. The quotes I just mentioned above, or previously, were the infamous tweets of President Donald Trump regarding the alleged media bias. However, could Trump have been right? After all, the entire election received an unhealthy amount of negative attention. The Democratic Party was continually overshadowed by the Republican race, and in the end, the results of the election were concluded as an upset, or to the media it was an upset. These are the three major points I will discuss regarding media bias in the 2016 election. The first point, the entire election received an unhealthy amount of negative attention. There wasn't a single day throughout the entire election that was regarded as more positive coverage than negative coverage in the press. The highest or the lowest amount that the level of negativity that was reported throughout the entire election was 64%, which means that there was only a highest percentage of 36% positivity. Trump had more negative coverage than Hillary Clinton during the general election. However, it was the opposite throughout the entire campaign. Hillary Clinton received more negative attention than Donald Trump did. During the general election, Trump only received 77% negative and only 23% positive coverage. However, throughout the entire campaign, he received 56% negative and 44% positive. But for Hillary Clinton, in the general election, she received 64% negative and 36% positive coverage. But throughout the entire campaign period, she had 62% negative coverage and 38% positive coverage. Another point regarding the amount of negativity is that reporters like a good story. They're always trying to find the story that'll make them the most popular. They try to highlight the problems and not the success stories. A lot of times that's the parts that get the most attention. Writer Joe Klein quotes, "It's gotten to the point where for the toughest story for a writer to write about a politician is a positive story." Reporters nowadays engage more in cynicism and attack than as opposed to skepticism, which is what they used to address mostly. It used to be more about maybe this happened or maybe it didn't happen, but nowadays it's more of this is what happened and there's no other way it can be. Trust in the press, due to all this negative attention, is now at a lower level than it has ever been in the history of polling. The second point is that the Democratic Party was continually overshadowed by the Republican race. Trump, even when he was the presumptive Republican nominee for the presidency, and there was no one else opposing him, he still received more coverage than Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders combined when they were still fighting for that Democratic nominee position. There's no other explanation for this than journalistic bias. Just because of the fact that there was no reason that he needed more coverage at the time than the two of them did. Throughout the entire election, Trump received 15% more coverage than any other candidate, including Hillary Clinton. From the point he declared his candidacy to when he received the Republican nominee, he had 63% coverage throughout the media, and his other major candidates only had 37 of that percent of coverages. Not fair at all. Journalists tried to defend this abundance of coverage of Donald Trump to him being readily available to the press. However, if this was true, then the press would be dominated by third-party candidates who are always hungry for attention and need that. The truth is that Trump's words and actions made an ideal story for a reporter. It was that good and eye-catching story that made them go viral and helped them gain the attention that they needed. The third point is that the results were concluded as an upset, or an upset to the media. Almost every news outlet had painted Hillary Clinton as the future president of the United States. They pointed to poll after poll, pointing her in the lead every time. And voters were convinced, or almost every voter in the United States was convinced, that there was no chance for Donald Trump. Only a mere 16% still thought that there was hope for Trump at all. The majority of America was stunned by the results. They were convinced for so long, and the media had painted Hillary Clinton as the future 45th president of the United States, that there was no reasonable doubt in their mind that anything else would happen. Even the press was speechless and taken aback. Many reporters on news outlets that evening had no idea what to say or how to predict this outcome. Many news outlets took the time to try to repair the damage that had been done, or attempted to at least. For example, the New York Times released an article with a letter stating that they may have underestimated Donald Trump's support. However, they never admittedly said that they were biased against Trump, or that they had an agenda to target Trump, which is kind of suspicious regarding the amount of negativity that was portrayed. The points above, support my point in that there was so much bias in the 2016 election. I hope you recognize that it is real, and that reporters will do anything to write a good story, especially considering the outcome of the election, that the idea of bias isn't too far-fetched, that this is very evident and true and pertinent to what is happening today. As Martin Luther King Jr. states, our minds are constantly being invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudices, and false facts. One of the great needs of mankind is to be lifted of the morass of propaganda. A quote from Malcolm X states, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses. A report done by the Harvard Kennedy School Shorenstein Center in the closing states that in the closing days of the 2016 campaign, the nation's editorial rooms rang the alarm bell, warning voters not to make the choice that many of them seemed ready to make. It went for the naught. The watchdog had lost its bite, and as well as the respect of the public who it claims to serve.